Aloha and welcome to Permission to Flourish, a podcast about choosing growth, joy, and purpose on your own terms. I'm your host, Jai Cornell, and I sit down with leaders, creatives, and everyday visionaries who's given themselves permission to pause, pivot, and pursue what truly matters. These conversations are real, heartfelt, and here to remind you, you don't need permission. Let's get to today's episode.
Jason, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Um,
Appreciate it.
yeah, so blessed. For those who are meeting you for the first time, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. Yes. I am a serial entrepreneur. Grew up in Idaho, love the outdoors, love family, have several kids of my own, but I love helping, at this point, helping entrepreneurs get unstuck. I've been on this journey myself where I've started several businesses. Some went great, some were bad, some crashed and burned, and I've learned a lot of different things. But I've now figured out the things that business owners need to do so that they can go from having the business crushing them to actually having the business be a machine that helps propel them forward.
I love that. And so let's start at the beginning. What was that defining moment that shaped you as an entrepreneur? Like, what was that first business that you had?
You know, going to the very first business, I started folding paper airplanes and tried to sell them to my siblings. And my dad came home from work and I don't remember, it was like a dime or a quarter or something. And he bought all my paper airplanes and they magically disappeared.
I love that. Oh, so good. See, so you already had that entrepreneurial spirit from at a very young age.
Yep, it was basically baked into me.
I love that. What inspired you to step into entrepreneurship? And were there any fears that you had to overcome?
Oh my goodness, so many fears. So I I've been on an entrepreneurial journey my whole life, and the first actual business that went somewhere was a lawn care business, and I brought in several customers right out of the gate. I think I was about 11 years old. Hired my younger brother to come work for me when the next season, and just started growing that business. And I was young enough at that point that I didn't really know that I should have any fears. But as I started to grow and experience more of life, I've had several experiences where there are things that just absolutely knocked me. And one of the big ones was I was afraid to charge people money. One of my businesses, I'm not sure what happened or when this all of a sudden happened, because as a little kid and growing up and several businesses in, I had no problem exchanging a good or a service for money. But all of a sudden, I just had this, "Oh, I can't do that to people" moment. And it took me years to figure out, okay, where did that come from? How did that happen? But in the meantime, while I was still battling that, I still had to collect money, so I just hired somebody and said, "Here, your job is to take care of getting the money and doing all that stuff." And so I was able to find someone whose strengths complemented my weaknesses. But I have a business coach that told me, he said, a business for a small business owner, a business will almost never outgrow the owner. The owner has to be growing in order for the business to grow.
That is powerful words of advice. I think I'm gonna have to use that because I feel you, I hear you, and I can see myself as well because we want to
Mm,
help everyone, but we still have to make, an income because we still have our family we need to provide to. So, but it's
exactly.
that heart, that servanthood, you want to just keep giving as much as you can.
Definitely.
I hear ya. What's one lesson you wish someone told you before you started your business?
Ooh. That's a that's one that probably goes back to I started a web design company in college. And one of the things that I thought I could do was I thought I could run a business without anyone but me. And I wish that someone would have explained to me that in business, in life, There's absolutely nothing that we do on our own when we want to be successful. And the best analogy I've ever seen is you look at the best of the best when it comes to golfers or when it comes to tennis players, and they seem to be on their own until all of a sudden you zoom back and you're like, wait, no, they've got coaches off to the side. The golfer has a caddy. You've got the people all around them that you've got the referees on the and you've got the fans and all these people. Nobody is successful on their own. And the other trick is if you go and you watch those professional athletes, there's not two of them. Which a small business owner, that's the other thing that always trips up people is they think they have to replicate themselves. And they're like, oh, if I can just find one more of me. Nobody, there's not two Michael Jordans, there's not, but you have a whole team. Each person has their own individual strengths, their own characteristics, but they're all going for that same objective, that same goal. And when you can build that team that doesn't look like you, it looks like a bunch of different people with different skills, then your business is set up and ready to be supercharged and really go in the right direction.
So good, so good. Absolutely. I know it took me a long time to really find the team that I have. And now I'm just like, I feel so great because I'm like, I don't even have to worry. Like I can walk away and they got it, and that's exactly just
Exactly.
like you said. Yeah, so good. Can you share a moment where you wanted to just quit but chose to keep going?
Absolutely. So, going back to that web design agency that I started, I thought that I was being successful, and I would just wake up, practically run into my office, start working. Money's just basically printing as I work, it just doing my work and money's. And then I thought, you know what? I'm gonna take my family on a week vacation. And I'd been on a few vacations before, and it was usually like this. I'd be going on the vacation with the family, and I'd have my phone over here. I'm like, I'll be right there. Just gotta do it. And then I'd have my computer over here in the evening. And this vacation, I was gonna have no internet, no cell phone, no computer, nothing. And when I told my clients that I was going to do that, they're like, "You can't go." What do you mean? They're like, "If there's a problem, we need you." I'm like, "How did I mess up this bad?" And I literally went on the vacation. I thought if my business burns down, it burns down. I'm going, and I spent the whole week and I was sitting there and I remember thinking, do I even want to keep doing this? I have messed up so bad I can't take my family on a vacation. If I have just a normal job, I know I get 2 weeks paid vacation minimum, and I'm going to be able to just set it off to the side and enjoy life. And I really didn't know if I could possibly build a business that would be better than having a W-2 job.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, right? Because you put in so many hours, but then you also have to remember that we have family, especially
Yeah.
time we can never get back. And our children, they just grow, and before you know it, they're out the door, out of college, and married. Like my kids, I'm like, whoa, where did time go? So I hear ya. It's like, wow.
Yeah. It's
When
crazy.
it is, right? Absolutely. So I have another question for you. When you hear the phrase permission to flourish, what does that mean to you personally at this stage of your life?
Yeah, so that is such an interesting phrase to me because it strikes deep into my brain. And the idea permission to flourish takes me back to something that hit me really hard a while ago. I used to think that what was inside my brain was reality. And I've discovered it's not actually reality. I can be standing right here and see something, and there's someone right next to me that sees something. We'll see totally different things because each of us can only process so much data that our brain just, it's like we have this whole siphon and it's just tossing all the extra data out into the garbage bin. And so we only get a very small fraction of the data that's actually coming at us. And so for me, my perception isn't reality, but when I take and I say I have permission to flourish, it's like putting a filter in front or a lens in front of my eyes. And now I see the world differently because now instead of saying, no, the world's a scarce place or I'm set up to fail or I can't do this, I'm saying, no, I have that permission. I have that right. I can accomplish, I can do, I can become. And so it changes the data that comes into my brain and the data that stays in my brain because it's that filter that it's starting to throw out the things that tells me I can't or it won't work or it's too hard.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's especially as you know you're learning stuff, you're like, why didn't I know that sooner? But it was like
Yeah,
we weren't ready for that. And now you reflect back on it, you're like, ah, gotcha.
totally.
Um, what advice would you give someone who feels like they're failed so many times and they just keep trying and trying and getting nowhere?
You know, I was in that position. I had a string of failures, and I literally went to my friend's house one night and I told him, I am convinced if I get involved in a business, the business will fail. And now I wasn't causing the failures. One of the businesses, the investor went nuts. He just went crazy. And the business melted because of that. And another one had another totally unrelated thing, all just melted. But all I knew was if I was involved in each one of those, therefore I must have been the problem. And I was convinced if I got involved in any other endeavors that the endeavors were absolutely going to fail. And so I was hopeless and I didn't know how to get out of this pit of hopelessness myself. But what that friend told me and I'll summarize it down was essentially that's the most arrogant thing I've ever heard. Like, how is it that you're so amazing that you walk into an event, into a situation and you cause it to collapse? That's impossible. It's not that. And so it was what it was my perspective, my views, my beliefs, and my actions needed to all shift. So if you're in that position where you feel like, man, I just keep failing and failing and failing and failing, that is good news because if each time you fail, you learn something new and you adjust slightly, you are now not even close to the same person that you were before, and you're set up to be more and more and more successful. I don't know if anyone's ever studied Abraham Lincoln, but he failed his way to become the president of the United States. And if someone is in that position where they feel like a failure, I would go study his life and it would be amazing and so encouraging because he literally failed until he was successful.
And it's kind of like that, the saying, right? Consistency is key, and a failure is not truly a failure. It's an opportunity to see how we can do it better.
Totally. That's exactly right.
And so earlier you talked about like you like helping and giving, helping people, helping small businesses, entrepreneurs. Can you share a little bit about how you do that, and if people were interested to learn or get more involved or need your services, how they can reach you?
Absolutely. Yes, thank you. So the core of what I discovered was education transforms us. And so I started off with it's called Small Business Big Visibility, and it's an education system and platform that we're established and building all the time. We've got one book, we've got two more books in the works right now that we're going to release this year, and then we also are doing a podcast called the Small Business Big Visibility Podcast, where Monday through Friday we're releasing episodes. And if we don't have a guest on, guests happen on Friday, but the rest of the time, we're just sharing short little nuggets, 5, 10 minutes long, just long enough to get people to start thinking differently. Because as soon as we think a little bit different, it shifts the way we see the world, it shifts the way we talk, shifts the way we act, and we become a totally different person and get totally different results. So that's the one area. But then I also discovered small business owners, they sometimes need a little bit more help than just the education. So we started the Grisora Business Freedom Movement, and Grisora is designed to help business owners that are feeling trapped, feeling stuck. If the business is crushing the life out of them, we come alongside those business owners and we help them make these step-by-step changes through our framework that moves them from being stuck to having that freedom that they were looking for.
Amazing. And you mentioned you had a book out. What's the title of your book and where can people purchase it?
Yeah, so the first book I released was about local SEO, and it's part of the Small Business Big Visibility series. And this book is called Local SEO Made Easy. And later this year, we're going to be releasing one on how to actually be able to focus and have good time management for entrepreneurs. And then we're also releasing a book that walks people through that same framework we teach in the Grisora business movement so that they can grab that resource and start going through the material themselves as well.
You guys got so much exciting things coming out. Because that was my next question is like, what's on the horizon for you in 2026? And you guys are crushing it. I
We
love
got
it.
all kinds of fun things happening.
And how are you balancing, time and the business and starting, starting the podcast, starting the content and helping so many people? How's that
So
going? How's the balancing going?
yeah, that is the greatest trick for an entrepreneur. My brother used to always say that an entrepreneur gets to pick which 80 hours a week they work. And what I've discovered is there's people used to, I always would say that you need good balance between work and non-work life. But the trick is, it's not so much the word balance because balance is a bit of a misnomer. Instead, we need to have priorities and then work towards those priorities. And so for me, my family is a priority. So I establish activities I'm doing with my family. I establish time I'm spending with my family. And then I calendar that out and schedule that out and stay true to that. And then I calendar out other things that are important to me. And I work from that mindset of I only have so many hours in a day. Where am I going to put my attention? Where am I going to put that time? And use that time as if it was the most important resource that I have. And doing that gives me the success that I'm looking for and also allows me to have that balance because I'm not just reacting to the emails that come in or the phone calls that come in. Instead, I'm proactive in establishing how I'm going to spend my time.
Absolutely. So good. If you could leave the listeners with one belief to carry forward, what would it be?
I think the one belief I would want every person to recognize is we are not perfect by design. And our entire life existence, we start out as this little kid who knows nothing, and we learn how to walk and we learn how to feed ourselves, and we keep learning and learning and learning. Perfection is not something we can achieve, but it's something we can strive towards our whole life. And so don't beat yourself up when you're not perfect at something. Instead, use those quote unquote failures to say, in that moment, I wasn't good at that. But going forward, I can become whatever I want to. If I want to be good at that, I can. And so to give yourself that permission to be able to say, I can change, I can become, I can do this, not I can't. And if you're stuck saying I can't, add one little word on the end, I can't yet. And that would be transformative for anyone.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Yes. Add that positive, always turn that negative into a positive. How are you going to do it? It's all about mindset shift. This has been such a pleasure speaking with you, Jason. Before we end, is there anything you'd like, words that you'd like to share with the listeners before we close out?
You know, I have a quote on my wall that has changed my life. It was by Trent Shelton. I was at this event and he said, if God led me to it, God will lead me through it. And I use that as my guide in life. When something hard comes, I know I'm going to make it through because I'm not dead yet. So all the hard things in my past haven't killed me. So this one won't either.
Amazing. Jason, thank you so much. It's been
Thank
such a
you.
pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Mahalo, and thank you so much for tuning into Permission to Flourish. If today's conversation spoke to you, please leave a review and share it with a friend who needs a reminder that they too are allowed to share and thrive. Visit permissiontoflourish.com if you're ready to share your own story or explore our publishing opportunities. You'll also find free resources and inspiration to help you say yes to your own flourishing journey. Until next time, keep flourishing.